Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, welcome to Giga Texas on Monday, the 31st of October 2022. And I wish a happy Halloween to everybody as well. A lot of activity going on the site and you'll see that in the video. But for the intro, I want to cover a couple of things. First, I want to give my personal congratulations to Tesla and Giga Texas and all of the employees, contractors, and suppliers that have helped make 20,000 production of Model Ys to date, which is an amazing achievement. As you can see here by this image from Troy Testlike, it took about 108 days from roughly April to mid-September to hit 10,000 Model Ys, and then only 43 days to hit the next 10,000 for a total of 20,000. And in case you're interested in how does this compare to the other Gigafactories, here's a good image with a chart, and this is based on Troy's information. Now Giga Shanghai with the Model Ys reached 20,000 in 100 days. Giga Texas with the Model Ys has reached that same 20,000 in 151 days, and Giga Berlin hit that mark approximately 187 days, which is amazing. Now, if you look at the 6-day production work week here at Giga Texas, based on how fast that they've reached 20,000, they're somewhere between 300 to 325 if they did a 6-day work week, or about 350 to 375 if they did a 5-day work week. And I think it's somewhere between 5 and 6. So somewhere around 350 or so cars per day is what they've achieved right now, and it's only going to ramp from here. So how do we project what that ramp may be? Now, as you can see by this chart here, Tesla is hoping to hit 5,000 weekly rate by the end of this year. If they hit that goal, that should be somewhere around 600 to 700 cars per day at the end of December. If we just did a linear progression, that would be about 450 to 500 by the end of November, and then hitting that 600 to 700 by the end of December. Now, I don't think it's going to be purely linear. I think there's going to be some ups and downs and some lumpiness into that production as they not only do the production, but they also do more of the construction that's going on here at Giga Texas. But nevertheless, this gives us something to shoot for and watch on the site. Speaking of changes and things to look for on the site, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been going on the south end here before we get into the main video.
One of the interesting things about construction at Giga Texas is how often some significant changes occur to the main site plan and the construction process. And nothing shows this more than what's going on the south end. So let's take a look back over the last 4 months or about 120 days to see how this area has changed. Back on the 24th of June, we can see the South Concrete lot was very busy with lots of Model Ys, and it was serving as a temporary staging and transportation location for all the Model Ys. We also see quite a bit of materials being stockpiled on the south end. Moving forward 1 month to the 27th of July, we see that not a lot has changed. The South Concrete lot was still being used for staging and transportation of Model Ys, a lot of steel and other materials on the south end, but on the east side we see a new material staging area developing. Moving forward yet another month to the 29th of August, we see that south lot is continued to be in use. We can see the steel and other materials has grown on the south end, and on the east side we now see trailers as a temporary location for warehouse on wheels while they do work on the east side. So another month later, on the 30th of September, things have begun to change. As you can see, the South Concrete lot on the left-hand side or the west side, they've begun excavating the concrete. The amount of materials has grown more on the south end, and on the east side, they've removed the trailers and are beginning to use that as material staging. And finally, just a couple of days ago, you can see how much of the South Concrete lot has been removed, and we've also seen the arrival of cranes, so definitely large construction. Changing the entire south end is about to begin. I hope this 4-month look back of the major changes going on in the south end was helpful and informative. Also, again, congratulations to Tesla for achieving 20,000 Model Ys produced at Giga Texas. Thank you very much for watching and all of your support. I wish you a very happy Halloween. Let's get into the main video.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas.
We start off this Halloween morning taking a look at the horizontal drilling location that is right in front of you in the middle of the screen, kind of outlined with that silt fence. You can see that the crews are busy on that southeast corner of that section doing some excavation work. There's a trench box in there as well. And this is where one of those large pipes was pulled through underneath the Colorado River. And they're still doing some preparation to connect these pipes, but I'm still not exactly sure where or how they will be connected. I'm also going to position the drone on the south end to kind of give you a similar image to what we talked about with the 4-month look back and the intro, just so you can get a good look at how this section of the factory looks today. And you can see quite a bit of materials on the south end. The cranes are being erected on the left-hand side, where that clearing is. On the right-hand side, a lot more of the clearing of the concrete. In the middle, we can see where it's all cross-cut. And we'll come back for a closer and a lower down altitude view in a little bit. But I want to also give you a good view here of some more of the solar panel installation. And this is where you can see they are bridging the gap between the L and the A of Tesla. And they've made pretty good progress with setting out the unirack mounts. And they've also been installing some more of the solar panels. On the upper right-hand side of the screen, you can see more of the mounts, some of the bricks that are used, and also some more of the solar panels in the upper center of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, those blue packages are more of those unirack mounts. We're going to approach the HVAC ducting enclosure installation here on the top of the body in white roof, and you can kind of get an idea of how this is looking today. Based on some recent rains, it looks like they're trying to at least keep some of them taped up with plastic, but with the winds, it just hasn't worked out very well for them. But they continue to configure this area, the larger section here that is open to the second floor. It looks like they've got the small walls around the opening completed, and this will be what they will use to seal this area off with the replaced decking and the insulation and the weatherproof membrane. So I'm going to pull over towards the west-hand side, and then I'm going to climb up in altitude to try to give you a pretty good view of how the solar panels look installed on the roof today. So you can see how the solar panels appear. It's a very nice sunrise off into the distance. I'm going to bring the drone back down and show you a couple of interesting things near the west entrance. The first is this landscaping section that we've been watching over the last month or two. You can see that most of the plants have been installed, but there's still some more plants and trees waiting for further installation for landscaping. I also saw this actually on my previous video, but I wanted to give you a better look at it. This black Model Y has horns on it, and if you remember back to the Cyber Rodeo, this is the car that they filmed jumping for the Cyber Rodeo event. So for some reason they've moved it outside. It was just inside the glass doors for a little while, but now it's out here. Maybe it's a Halloween decoration for Giga Texas. As I fly over this ramp, I'm going to take a chance to bring the drone down just a little bit, give you a small view inside these 6 loading or receiving docks, just so you can get an idea of what is going on inside. You can see the load levelers installed as well. Not so many trucks on this side this morning, but still quite active. So I'm going to bring us down to the southwest corner and show you what's going on with these 2 new cranes that arrived 2 days ago. And you can see is the yellow crane is mostly assembled, and the crews are getting ready to finish up some more of the assembly. And later on in the video, we'll actually see the crane starting to rise up. And by the time I left the site, both cranes were vertical. But you can see how this clearing on the west side appears today. More and more equipment is starting to be positioned here, which signals yet more of construction. You can also see quite a few of the Model Ys right at the bottom of the screen. They're using this overflow location because the center concrete section is becoming smaller and smaller as they do demolition work, and we'll see that in just a second. This is a good closer view of all of the materials that are stored here on the south side of the cyber pond. And this altitude and the speed that I'm flying gives you a really good idea to see how all of these steel components appear. Most of them look like they are beams, but there are a few columns. And on the right-hand side of the screen is a whole lot of solar panels waiting for movement up onto the roof. Here's some more steel components that have been recently delivered. You can also see some concrete vaults off to the right-hand side of the screen and a different view of that horizontal drilling location. Also in the upper part of the screen, you can see where more of the steel materials are being stored. This is also a very good look at how the east side concrete demolition and removal work is proceeding. And quite a bit of it is definitely gone. There's a few areas that are being broken up by some of those large jackhammers, but most are in the square sections that are saw cut. There's also, you can see on the sort of the road on the south end, they've a green line there. I'm not sure exactly if this means it's going to be demolished or if they're going to do some other work. Also on the right hand side of the screen, you can see that large section that has been cross-cut. Many Model Ys are staged here on the south end, and still waiting for this section to be eliminated with vehicles so that they can do more of the cross-cutting and then concrete removal. Activity on that loading platform today with looks like some trash pickup on those bins. And this is a good view of the sections of concrete that have been cut out. And on the upper part of the screen, you can see where they have that jackhammer breaking up some of them. I'm not sure why they are doing that, but clearly they are at least breaking up some of them, as you can see near where this excavator is located. Up in the middle of the screen approaching us now, you can see the crews installing these blue water pipes. And there's a few on the ground there. It looks like some surveyors. And then this is where they are installing into this trench. You can see some of the connections as well for that blue pipe. We're going to take a look at the east side of the stamping structure just to show you that the AIDA stamping press components in these large blue and brown on the left-hand side and the blue-topped crates. Still waiting for the stamping extension section to have that isolation foundation completed before they can assemble this machine. Here's a good look at this clearing location near the outfall channel for the sedimentation basin. They continue to use this as a sort of a repository for a lot of dirt. It's used to store it temporarily, and then it's used in other construction sites around Giga Texas. This is a good view of this material storage, trailer, and parking lot that has been developing over the last couple of months here on the east side of Body in White. I'll give you a good close look inside as much as I can. The stamping machine open door on the left, you can see some of the red materials or machinery inside. You can see the new steel platform, and it looks like they may have installed a door where the glass was, possibly to be able to close that section up when it's not been used. Also next to that platform you can see a brand new cut-in opening for more cargo, and it's outlined in red. As we continue to the north, you can see how these two concrete sections have had the concrete removed. They're doing some plumbing work and preparing to reconfigure this section with some of the new loading docks that have been cut into the doors, and then they'll put in concrete. And then as we pass that secondary entrance, you can see this other section that has more concrete removal underway. They're doing some plumbing work, and where that excavator is, just to the north, you can see that they put some asphalt ramps next to those doors, so very interesting. On the left-hand side of the screen, this small parking lot next to the helipad, you'll notice that almost all of the Model Ys that were stored here have been moved out now, and most likely transported up to the railhead up at Hutto, Texas. And then coming under the drone right now, I'm showing you the primary vehicle staging and transportation lot. You see quite a few more Model Ys here on the east side, a little bit on the west, and some more on the north side, and trucks picking them up again today. Now here's something I want to show you that is new. On the north end of the warehouse on wheels yard, you can see that section that was emptied out, and we were speculating perhaps they would be doing some paving. Instead, they've turned it into a large parking lot. And later on the video, I'll show you where all of the vehicles are coming from. But on the left-hand side of the screen, you can get a little bit of a preview of that. For some reason, they're clearing out the north end of that east parking lot. Maybe they'll be doing some more configuration work. And this is how the warehouse on wheels appears today, with all the trailers on that center and south portion of that yard. As we pull back over this material staging location, look on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You can see more of those concrete sections that have been cut out from the south end are being stored here as well. Just to the north of here, I'll show you in just a second, more of those concrete panels are being stored here. And then north of the battery cathode plant, they're doing the same thing. So obviously, as you can see here at the bottom of the screen, they are running out of space for all of these sections that have been cut out from that south end, and they're kind of distributing them all over the site. There's even some west of the highway near the North Bridge, and I've shown you that on some previous videos. So let's proceed sort of towards the northwest, towards the battery cathode plant. I'm going to pull down here. You can see some excavation work next to this large hill. And we'll get down a little bit closer and show you where some of the recycling operations are going on. Here, right in the center and the bottom of the screen. And this is where we've seen in the past some Model Y bodies being prepared for recycling. In this particular section, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, there's a lot of these light poles that are used in the parking lots, and it looks like they are preparing another large section for installation. So let's proceed up to the battery cathode plant and see what is going on up here today. And one of the first things I noticed is in this trench with the blue pipe, those sort of dirt bars that were on top of the pipe are being removed. Those were used to help keep the pipe from floating during heavy rains. So this indicates to me that they're going to be doing some additional work, possibly getting ready to fill this trench back in. Let me give you a closer look here into the third floor at some of the machinery and equipment that is being delivered and installed by the workers in that one open section. And you can kind of see how this open section appears as well. It's becoming difficult to see inside now because of so many wall panels being installed. And speaking of which, this is a good view of how they take the wall panels that are put flat on these trailers, and then they raise them into a vertical position from the horizontal and prepare them for installation. Now you can see the workers have those guide ropes, and as the concrete panel moves, you can see how the workers were struggling and continue to struggle to try to keep that from swinging, because it is very large and extremely heavy. Take note of the size of the workers next to this one concrete panel as they get ready to disconnect some of the cables and prepare for this panel to be lifted up and installed. It's just amazing how large these components or these materials are, and it's hard sometimes to really get a feel for how big they are from the drone's point of view. But as we continue a little bit farther to the north, I'm going to give you as good of an interior view as I can in this center section. Now this is where the ground slab has been prepared, very heavily reinforced with rebar and a lot of concrete, and there's 3 of these recessed foundations. You can see that last one in the middle without the wall panels. Also see all of the interior wall panel installation as well. At the rate they're going, probably in the next day or so, we won't be able to see in much of this section anymore. So I'm going to pull back a little bit more towards the east and prepare the drone so we can get down closer to this steel structure. It looks like there's crews actively working inside to prepare for most likely the roof and the wall decking. And as you can see, all of the superstructure is pretty much installed now. On that north corner, you can see the rebar sticking out of the ground. It looks like that's going to be something that will be poured in concrete, maybe a reinforced section of that building. Let's proceed up to the north across this clearing and up to the far north where the equipment rental is located. And I'm going to show you a lot of details. One of the things on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that silted fence that separates that one section has had grass seed put in it. You can see some of the wall panels on the left-hand side that have been pulled up and brought up here from the south end. You can also see this tent-like structure, which is sort of a repair and maintenance shop that they've installed up here, and all of the materials and equipment up here, for the most part, are rental equipment that are used around the site. And this is just a good closer view of how this sort of a tent-like Quonset hut appears today. Also, I'll give you another close look at all of the concrete wall or concrete sections pulled up from the south end and how they're being stored here. And you can, with the size of the trucks, gives you an idea of just how large this area is with all those concrete sections. You can see a lot more excavation work going on here in this clearing location, and they're moving this dirt to various parts of the construction site. Also, you can see how they're removing the hill right in the middle. And again, this is a good view of where they've sprayed the grass seed over this section. Now, this has been reclaimed ponds that they've filled back in. It looks like they put this grass seed around where the silt fence is for erosion control. And they'll probably continue to fill in more of these ponds and working towards the west. As we approach back towards the battery cathode plant, you can see quite a bit of the steel materials just coming underneath the drone. And all of this will probably be used for the new structure that they're preparing with geopiers that you can see on the west side, and we'll get down there a little bit closer. The wall panel installation on the north and the west sides here continues. You can see just how much of this has been filled in. Only on the center section where the temporary loading platforms are is where they haven't put a lot of wall panels, but otherwise we're approaching about maybe 75% of the wall panels installed. I'm going to give you a sort of a lower and different view of where they're doing the geopier work in this clearing. Now, geopiers are piers that go about 40 to 60 feet into the ground, and they use a crushed up aggregate that you saw on the left-hand side of the screen, and they put it into these bores that this machine here drills, and then they compact it down. And this helps to stabilize and strengthen the soil, particularly where they will have columns. Now you can see the round holes in the ground right here. It's a really good example of where they have marked off where the columns of the new building will be and where they're putting the geopiers in. As we approach this concrete apron, we can see more of the work on the north end. The crew's installing a lot more of the rebar, and also the formwork has been completed. So they're approaching the point where we may see some of the concrete poured. You can also see those square excavations. Those are footings that will most likely support tanks. It could be a building, but I think it's going to be tanks. But overall, this is how the battery cathode plant looks today. So let's proceed over to the electrical switch yard and check on the progress there. Now that the rains have passed, they've been able to clean up some of the water and mud, and they're resuming work on footing installation, some of the steel assembly, and also some of the electronic components, some of the insulators and the disconnects, as you can see here at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Many of these poles have angled bases, and they'll make more of those A-frame structures that you saw just passing off to the right. And here you can see another section of footings being prepared. The drill is drilling down about 60 feet into the ground, give or take. That would be about, say, 20 meters or so. And as you can see, they'll bring the dirt out, they'll spin the drill back to clean it out, and then they'll go back in for the bores. They'll end up putting rebar cages down into those bores, and then mounts, and then fill them up, and then we'll see the footings prepared for all the steel. You can see here the white truck is a truck to remove all of the water, and they've done that in the one of the two squares here for the transformers. And you can see the crews here preparing all the rebar. Again, these transformers are most likely going to be very large and heavy, and you can tell that they're preparing some very heavy platforms or foundations to support those transformers. So I'll pull back and give you just an overall view of how this end of the electrical switchyard appears today, where it is in relation to the temporary switchyard, some of the pipes and corrugated water pipes being kept over in this section until they are needed, and then we're flying over the Tesla orientation trailers, just moving off to the right. As I mentioned earlier, the Warehouse on Wheels north end is being used as a parking lot. This parking lot looks like it's being cleared out. This may indicate that they will be doing some reconfiguration work in this particular section of the large parking lot. I'm not sure, but it's something I will continue to monitor. As we approach the casting machine structure on the east side, you can see quite a few more of the castings have been manufactured and stored on the east side on the ground level. This is a great indication of the production rate that is going on with the Model Ys, and with the sheer number that they continue to push out every day, really does indicate that that ramp is progressing. Now here are some Model Y bodies. There's 5 of them, and the 2 white ones and the red one look like they are the 4680 versions, and the other 2 are the 2170 versions, and you can tell by the lack of floors and the front castings that are on those. The other devices nearby were some alignment jigs that they use for the body. On the north end of the paint shop, you can see that they continue to bring in a lot of materials, components, modular sections of paint shop line, and the amount of configuration and expanding inside the paint shop has just been tremendous. And with all of these components still outside, it looks like they still have some assembling to do, but they're approaching the point where they may have this new paint line operational. Here at the 4680 production section of the building, you can see some very interesting deliveries, one on that large truck with the accordion open, and then you can see the other one with the sort of the silver wrapped materials. All of these most likely support the production of the 4680s. And finally, this center section where they're doing the plumbing work, some of the sidewalks and curbs continues to develop. It looks like they're getting close to finishing up this particular section as well. So that's it for the 31st of October, my Halloween view of Giga Texas. Thank you very much for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I hope you have a very happy Halloween.